This week I started out at Pine and Crane for my second artist date, and I ordered their passion fruit green tea with grass jelly. This is my favorite drink of theirs, and then I headed over to hop onto the metro. A friend of mine and fellow artist, Wheeler, who is actually also my neighbor at the studio, had posted about his loquat tree that was bearing fruit, and I've been meaning to get my hands on these for quite a while. I was first interested in them when I had moved to LA over 3 years ago now, and I thought it was so interesting how there were just these cute little fruits and nobody seemed to be eating them. Only later did I learn the cultural significance that they have, and they actually were predominantly planted in the working Latino class communities and neighborhoods. There's all of these delicious recipes online for jam and loquat chicken, kind of like lemon chicken. I plan on making jam with these later, but I really wanted to come collect them so that I can turn the seeds into pigment. I had a really fun time collecting all of these. I think there were some parrots that had lived in here and they were kind of curious what I was doing with their fruit. But I loved listening to them as they talked amongst each other about this stranger in their tree. After some time, the bees started getting a bit agitated as well, so I thought this satchel was more than enough, and I headed home. I just love that I caught the golden hour on the way home because I love to see everything change color and that nice golden pinkish hue come out. I know LA can get some flack when it comes to the metro, but I personally love taking the metro. It just gives me a different perspective on the city. So welcome to my house. I grabbed my loquats and gave them a nice rinse. They're actually really tender. They feel quite soft like peaches, so I was careful not to bruise them at all. And once I felt like they were clean enough, I moved them to this dish towel where I can lay them out for them to dry completely. I've actually never had a loquat, even though I've seen many of them. At this point, I saw that my cat wanted attention. I have two cats. This is Miss Gray. She's the shyest of all of them. She's a tiny princess, and she's 6 years old now. She's my first cat and my baby. Well, they're all my babies, but I gave her a little loquat to sniff, which she was not the biggest fan of. So went ahead, put her down, and got settled with my loquats. So loquats are actually not a citrus, which I had thought originally. They are part of the rose family, which is also where stone fruits come from. When I had heard that, I got really excited because I'm also in the process of making some pigment from peach pits, which is in the stone fruit family. Basically anything that's a stone fruit has a potential to turn into pigment. So when I saw that there were so many of these at my friend's house, I thought this is my perfect opportunity. These fruits, also known as níspero in Spanish, are really common in Central America. And so when immigrants came over to the United States looking for work or a better life, they naturally came with them, and they've been a staple to Los Angeles ever since. I just think it's very interesting that they're everywhere, on sidewalks, in front yards, hanging over fences. Most people walk right by them, but they're sweet, they feed the birds, and they brighten sidewalks even when nobody's looking. It asks for nothing, gives everything, and keeps growing every year. In a city that often forgets who plants its roots, the loquat reminds me that what's overlooked is often what holds the most life. So after slicing the fruit in half, I expose the seeds. There's usually 3 to 4 seeds per fruit, and they are wrapped in this little film that needs to be removed. The seeds themselves are very wet. They're almost slimy, and holding them made me think of when I was younger. As a child, I would play mancala. Holding each of those glass mancala beads is kind of what this reminds me of. I had heard that the seeds could be processed in a way to make a drink that's similar to coffee, but the seeds on their own are poisonous. I'm not sure the details on that, and I don't really care to find out at this point. I think I would be very interested to try the drink, but for the sake of my artist date, I'm really just looking to gather these to make pigment. But I will not let the fruit go to waste. I do plan on making jam with this. I've never made jam, but I love to cook, and I figured this is the perfect opportunity because I have all of these fruits. For the seeds themselves, once I have them cut up, cleaned, and dried, I'm going to leave them in my studio to completely dry under the sun for a while. And then in the following weeks, I'm going to have a burning. These seeds are hopefully going to give me a really beautiful black once they've been charred in a fire. I will be doing a mass firing because I have a bunch of bones in my studio, as well as my peach pits that I had mentioned previously. I'm interested in seeing the difference in hues between all of them. I've heard that the peach pits tend to give you a warmer black and the bone black is more of a cool black, so I'm also curious to see where the loquat seeds fall in the middle of those two. So cleaning all of these loquats took me some time. I think at this point it was going on 2 hours. They are a very delicate fruit, but it's so worth it. I'm really glad that I took the time. So now that they're all chopped up, I'm gonna grab my little Ziploc bags and just put the fruit in there for now. I'm gonna pop them in my freezer because after all of that work peeling them, I really don't have the energy to make jam right now. I might make it next week for my artist date, but for now they're just going to live in my fridge. I think in total I got close to almost 8 cups worth of loquats, so I'm curious to see how much jam this makes. So I'm gonna pop those in the freezer and really tend to my seeds. I noticed that they have this really slick coating to them. I'm gonna see if I'm able to wash that off. I'm nervous that it's like some kind of organic skin that will prevent them from drying out or even worse, molding once they're put inside of a jar. So even with water, that little skin isn't coming off. I decided to pop in some dish soap. Dish soap is not sponsored, but if Dawn would like to sponsor me, I'm open to it. After giving them a rinse and getting all of that soap off, I felt like they were a bit better, but we'll have to see how it goes. I laid them out onto a dish towel to completely dry. They look so beautiful. This reminds me of these little bracelets I used to get as a kid in Brazil. I'm sure they were made with these seeds or seeds from some kind of similar fruit, but I remember having little necklaces and bracelets made from seeds. But then I just grabbed this clean jar and stored them in there. This is where they're going to live for the next few weeks until I'm ready for my jarring. I'm really excited to show you guys the process in the coming weeks.